The following podcast may have, what would you say it would have, Jesse?
Swear words.
Is that cussing? Yeah, that's cussing.
Yeah, cousin. Yeah. Southern, for your Southernese, it would be cousin.
Yeah. May have things that you don't want to hear, then I have to ask why you're listening to it. But, to each his own, so,
I say we should change something. I don't think we should
change?
say may have swear words because you and I, there's no may, I don't think.
This is true. So, let's just go ahead and say, you've been warned.
Yep.
You listen at your own risk. The Blind Nine. And here we are. We're not live, although we are alive, and I guess we're live to each other.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're shooting off the cuff here, right?
That's right. That's what we do. And I did not interrupt you again.
I know.
Maybe I'm done with. Oh shit.
See, you go to running your mouth, and
well, what I was gonna say, not interrupt. I used the wrong word. I didn't talk right when you started to record or something. That's what I meant to say.
Okay. We'll let you go. In news, not really a whole lot. I think I may have mentioned it last week that I was on a podcast. Hindsight is 20-200. It has not aired yet, but really good time there with Chad, and we'll be on an upcoming one called the I think it's called Seesaw Podcast. I got it in my notes, but I don't have those particular notes up, so look forward to that. The server is doing good. I have not totally destroyed it yet.
No, you have not.
So that's a good thing so far. Quest of the Braille, as far as the long 6-week sessions, has ended with Adventure Skeletons, and I think it ended.
Oh my God, was that fun! I actually sent I don't think she listened yet, but I actually sent the ending, our most recent show, to my mom. Like, you need to listen to this. Just mainly, I didn't tell her anything. I wanted to hear the voice I did.
Yeah. Great group, and we have discussed about going forward, meeting once a month. So yeah, and I've talked to the people at Everyone Games, and we have y'all as my group for a game to run. So I think we may have been the first group. Not 100% sure about that, but close to it. But Everyone Games is coming up on September the 30th and October 1st of this year, which is 2022. Also, there will be a launch of Accessible Gaming Quarterly, which is a great magazine with lots of tips and hints and tricks, brought to you by Jacob Wood at accessiblegames.biz, and that is .biz. Jesse, definitely something that people need to check out. I have wrote for Jacob several times, and he usually asks me to put my stuff out like a year ahead of time because he has to go through and edit it from Southernese to English. So
that would take a while.
Yeah, it can. Right now I'm going through and creating ecology reports for Jacob for the magazine. So a lot of fun there, some creatures and some one-shots in there. So yeah, definitely check out Accessible Gaming Quarter. You can buy it when the website goes live directly from Jacob, or you can go to drivethrurpg.com and get it. A great resource there. So definitely check that out.
The thing I love about the Quest for the Braille, not only that I'm a part of it, but I love the idea that we're doing a different game each month, like that. Or we might have obviously have some repeats, but just trying out all these different one-page RPGs just sounds a lot of fun.
I think so.
And sexy battle wizards, come on now.
I think that's going to be a lot of fun myself. And
did you reach out to our friend and ask if they wanted to play that?
I have not yet.
Okay.
Been kind of busy since we cut off Saturday.
Right. I just figured that's tailor-made for this person.
Yes.
So hopefully they play it.
I think it would be too. I mean, although we can play it on Wednesday night as well. But that's really about all that's going on in the Knights of the Braille news. So be sure to check out the server and look for upcoming games and games that where game masters are looking for players. But we we have had some, I guess, reviews about our ecology and environment and things like that. People seem to really like it, so
That's good.
that's a good thing there. Last week we did grasslands, and there's really no different definition other than a land covered in grass. I mean, you can describe the sky differently and the grass differently, I guess, but it still boils down to being the same.
Or it could be like a science fiction world. It was a grassland, but due to some ecological problem, it is all dirt now.
Yeah, but then it wouldn't be a grassland. It'd just be like
Yeah,
a
that's true.
dirt land.
Yeah, that's true.
But either way, let's talk a little bit about the grassland. What's something else you could do differently with it, Jesse?
Hmm.
Yeah, I'll throw you not under the bus. I'll throw you on top of the bus and give you a chance to roll off
You
and
could.
hit your head.
Do you want me to like come up with a different thing, or just say to you what you could do differently?
Just tell me what you can do differently.
You could describe like the grass, for instance, could be sentient and alive.
Oh, I like that.
You could describe the temperature, like the weather around. It could be a sunny day or it could be a hot, humid day where the grass is sticking to you because it's overgrown and you're sweating so much, which reduces your movement.
I like this. Um, and here's another thought. A couple of them actually. Uh, let's say that the grass is kind of like a narcotic, and as it cuts
Ooh.
into your skin, you get addicted to it. Kind of like the flowers on
You're
the
like a
Wizard
cow.
of
You have to stop
Oz.
and munch the grass.
Yeah, I mean, and you want to stay there because you enjoy the feeling of the high that you get.
It's like the flower table all over again.
Well, it's like the flowers in the Wizard of Oz.
Yep.
They wanted to stay there
Right.
because they went to
Yeah.
sleep.
Yeah.
Um, and here's another thing. Let's give Jesse this scene here. Jesse,
Okay.
you are standing in the middle of this grassland. The weather's rather dry. There's no clouds up overhead, nothing to block the sun. The grass is dry, the dirt is dry, and all of a sudden you hear crackling and you look and see a fire coming towards you.
Dexterity check.
I mean that's a hazard that you can throw into basic
Right.
grassland.
You have to like outrun the fire.
Yeah, and we'll say that there's holes dug into from different animals from those.
I'd be screwed.
Yeah, but you see what I'm saying? There's so much extra that you can throw in there, and let's say that a rock comes down, not like a stone rock, but
like the rock,
like the bird rock, like bird is the word kind of rock. It's a massive bird like creature with a 20-foot wingspan that can lift you up, and it's either there to save you, Jesse, which is good, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, but you don't know until it gets like close to you if it's friend or foe.
Right. It can be there to save you. It can be there to eat you. It can be there as
and it could pick you up like it's gonna save you and then just drop you.
It could. I mean, so much you can do with the rock here, and as a game master, you could have the rock carry the person in its claws to the mountains. Totally different scene there. And as long as I can remember, we may move to the mountain environment next week, which I think could be a lot of fun, and that could take quite a while there with the different aspects of mountains that you can have.
caves in the mountain.
Yes.
Well, I guess that really wouldn't be mountain then, would it?
Not really, but I mean, it could work. But let's look at the rock real quick, since that was I think a very good grassland creature.
Did you guys face one of those in one of the campaigns, I think, that I ran?
I believe so. I believe it was like
Okay.
Storm King's Thunder or
Okay, I
something
thought
like
so.
that. It is an underlined gargantuan monstrosity. Oh, those are big words.
You did really good.
And I appreciate it. It has an armor class of 15 and 248 hit points
Wow.
on average. It can fly 120 feet in a turn. That's pretty good distance,
Yeah, that's unheard of.
Let's see here. Let's see. It's a challenge of 11 when it comes to D&D. So that's pretty high challenge rating there. But if you can tame one, I mean, you could use it to fly.
Right.
All kinds
Use
of
it to
things.
fight.
Yeah, exactly. It has a multi-attack, and it can make an attack with its beak or with its. It says here talons, which are also like claws.
Mhm.
It gets a plus 13 to hit, Jesse, with its
Oh God,
with its beak.
you're screwed.
And also a plus 13 for its talons. I mean, that's crazy. And the wingspan, like I said, is like 200 feet. So
How much damage does it do per attack?
let's see here. The attack hit 27 median, like average damage with the beak, and the talons have an average of 23 damage.
That's a tough boy.
Oh, it is, and
or girl.
I mean, and if it hits every time, which I mean, it definitely usually hit a sorcerer every single time.
Oh, a sorcerer would be done.
You wouldn't want to be squishy coming across one of these. But I mean, it could be a lot of fun to have in a campaign.
Unless you're really, really out of range.
You'd have to be, but with it being able to fly 120 feet,
right, it can get you.
Yeah, and that's not counting its action. That's just its movement. So yeah. But I mean, so many different ways that you could use that there, But let's see. We will be right back with Jesse's reading recommendations. Take a seat and listen for Jesse's reading recommendations.
All right, today's recommendation is a delightful book called Norse Mythology by Neil Gaiman. I got this on Audible. It's read by the author. He has a great reading voice if you've ever listened to any of his books. And the book is written in a way where it's like you're being told from a storyteller the the Norse myths. They talk about Odin, they talk about frost giants, they talk about Thor. Like all the main things are covered. Ragnarok's talked about, but the main draw for me was Neil reading it, because it's like you're sitting down beside a fire or down on a couch, or you're a little child getting ready to fall asleep, and your grandfather or your father is sitting there telling you a bedtime story. That's what I kind of felt like reading this. And I don't know if it's on Bard or anything, but I would highly recommend, if you're Audible, get it read by Neil, because he just has a phenomenal storyteller quality to his book, to his voice. And I love it. I wish he would do more myths, but it seems like this is the only one he's done so far. I hope he does Greek and Roman stuff like that. But it was great stories, and had a lot of fun with it. I read it. It's about 6 hours. I read it very quickly within a week, which Richard will tell you is really rare for me with audiobooks.
Ain't that the truth?
Have you read this book or heard of it?
Oh, I've heard of it. And I believe it's on my wish list. I think there was like a 10th anniversary release of it. I
It
think.
just came out a couple years ago.
Was okay. I'm thinking of another book then that did mythology.
American Gods.
That's it. That's it. That's it.
Have you ever read any Neil Gaiman?
I believe I have.
Okay.
I believe I have, but I've read so much in my life that
Right, yeah.
I
It's
can't.
really good though. It's a real good overview of the myths.
And I especially like when an author reads their own book.
Some are bad, but he's really good.
Stephen King is really good. Reading his.
That's what I've heard. I've actually never heard. Or yes, I have heard him read. I had a short story collection from him when I was younger.
The one by him that I really like is Bag of Bones.
Okay.
Really, really good.
I heard that book was good.
It is. It's not my personal reading recommendation this week, but
Right. What is your, getting off track for a second, what is your favorite Stephen King book?
ooh,
I should have asked you this beforehand, huh?
probably Bag of Bones.
Okay.
I really, really enjoyed that book. So yeah, I'd have to go with that one.
What
But
is your reading recommendation, sir?
is of course a dungeon crawler, Carl. I'll go with the whole series. I just read the most recent one. It's a lit RPG. I'm into that right now. Not that I don't read other stuff, but that's just what I'm into right now. Humorous, kind of dark, but it's really good. I like the apocalyptic feel of it, which is why they get into the games, and I like the whole dungeon aspect of it, and of course, other races that he brings in. It's by Matt Dinnerman, and I actually followed him on what's that thing called, Twitter? Yeah.
Twitter, yep.
And he's really good. It also has a velociraptor in the book called Mongo.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And I love dinosaur stuff too, so that just
Oh, yeah,
adds
me
into
too.
another reason that I really, really enjoy it. You would like it because one of the main characters is a cat.
I would also like it because it's Carl, and that's my dad goes by Skip, but his name is Carl. So every time you hear say that, I think of my dad as a dungeon crawler.
It's.
But speaking of lit RPG, you have your own lit RPG podcast.
I do. Yeah, it has some elements of it in there.
Yeah.
But I have a lot of fun playing it. I'm playing a Shader Kai, which is like a shadow elf from the Shadowfell. That is going through the Curse of Strahd because I've gotten to run it, but never.
You wanted to play it.
Yeah, I wanted to play it, and this is basically the only way that I'll get to play it, and adding in the lit RPG elements into it, and playing it as written. So
the episodes are like 20 some minutes. They're very easy to get through. There's, I think, 3 out now.
Yeah.
And they're really good. I enjoy it. I love how you do the narration. It's like a first person, like you're there. If you've listened to old time radio shows, it's kind of like those old time detectives is what it reminds me of.
Like I said, I appreciate it, Jesse. I'm having a lot of fun doing it. If you are interested in following it, you can find it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Overcast at Solo TTRPGER. That's 2 words, Solo, and then TTRPGER.
Yeah, I had trouble finding it the first time because I put a space between TT and RPGER.
Yeah. It says that it's on Google Podcasts as well. But yeah, whenever I go through Anchor, it does not show up for Google because for some reason I cannot get the link to accept with Anchor. And I was going to get it put on Amazon, but they have this little like visual thing that you need to click and
do they? Is it like a
what?
I can't CAPTCHA?
No, I can't tell what it is.
Oh,
Yeah. Um, so it's obviously something visual there that, of course,
that's
I
really weird.
cannot see. Yeah.
Stupid.
But I'm having a lot of fun playing it and, doing a little bit of editing here and there. And, people will probably say, oh, well, you're not following the, such and such. How do we know that you're being legit? Um,
Richard's a legit person. I can speak to that.
yeah,
Like
I
you
don't
wouldn't.
fudge, you
No.
know, um, and you can find that out like within, a couple of the episodes so far.
So if you die, will you just make a new character?
Yeah. I think so. Or I may, do um, campaign because I have
Hmm.
some of those, but
Well, you have access now if you wanted. I know you said you wanted to play Ghosts of Saltmarsh. You have that now
yeah,
because of the campaigns sharing thing.
and I also with the solo TTRPG, uh, like I said, I am throwing in some lit RPG elements into that as well. I started off Curse of Strahd at level 1, so um,
And I didn't finish all of it, but do you not have a weapon?
he's a sorcerer, so I mean he has his staff
Okay.
and a
Okay. Because
crossbow.
you gave the meat to the wolves.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I had
Well, I guess there was 11 of them, so you really couldn't
yeah, I
base
could
off
think
of
of
them.
no way to
Right. That's very
attack
true. Yep.
them. So tried to befriend them and managed to roll a 15 on the animal handling check.
As you're recording, because I'm sure you've probably recorded more than you've released, have you met Periwinkle yet?
No, no. He went to the place to the store, but upon rolling, he was not there.
Okay.
Or did not come out.
So I'm here for a Periwinkle return.
Maybe. But I seriously doubt that I start completely over. I
Mhm.
may just like create
I would just say
someone
you have like
who's
continues.
yeah, and that's what I'm thinking about. Also thinking about like I was telling you the other day, I need to create a D100 like treasure table, but all
Hmm.
most of the ones that I could find were magical, and to me that doesn't seem fair. Not not to
Right.
me.
No, I don't think
I'm
so either.
I'm afraid it would make Manzian too overpowered,
Yep.
and uh, so I
Which
want
is
to.
some things I've read about, like about the lit RPG. Like some people have criticized some of the characters. They'll say are too overpowered.
Right, and I don't want that. So I'm going to create me a table, in some free
Yeah.
time, and thinking about like finding health potions, which will go a long way in helping. Um, but
I found this series. I don't remember the name of it, but it was in one of these like I get the emails from Fantasy Bridge, and it tells you like if there's a new release or whatever.
yeah,
And it was about a person that gets into a lit RPG and is turned into an ant, and they have to like cultivate this ant colony.
ah, okay,
I
interesting.
didn't buy it, but it sounds like humorous.
Yeah, I got a couple of those books like on Kindle that I'm on. There's one out there by a plumber talking about like the different jobs that they've come
Mm,
across. But in community segment here, we're still asking that people send in, 5-minute segments about their favorite TTRPG. If you have multiple, send in multiple files. If we don't get any more for next week, then Jesse or myself will do one.
mhm.
But this week we have this guy named Jim. Is going to talk about his favorite TTRPG.
The guy that does the intro and stuff, right? Isn't that Jim?
No, I do the intro.
No, I mean the British guy that does one of our sound things.
No, that's Chris.
Oh, that's right. They're not the same.
Yeah, they
I
all
can't believe
sound the
I for
same
real. I
though.
actually thought that at that one point. I'm like, isn't that Jim? And you're like, no.
Yeah, bless him, y'all. He does need some help,
I
but
know that now. I'm just joking around.
yeah, but again, I will love for everybody to check out solo TTRPG It's on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and those platforms. Let me know what you think. Like, share, subscribe, and we'll see
Or
if it
that's
grows.
subscribe.
No, it's only this podcast.
Oh, okay.
And riddle of the week. Let's go over last week's. There is something that I seek. While it is bound, it chooses kings and peasants. When it is freed, it foretells war or woe. When it is bound, it propels men's lusts and furies. When it is freed, it tumbles, falls, and fades. While it is bound, it will often thrive. When it is freed, death will often follow. What is it, Jesse?
I know because you told me, so I don't think it's fair to answer.
Yeah, it is, because we did this one last week. You can answer it now. It is blood. Exactly.
And if I just want to throw in there, if you have an answer or a guess, tweet it to us just for fun on Knights of the Knights of the Braille Twitter.
Exactly. I think it'll be a lot of fun to do here. And here is this week's riddle. What is so fragile that even saying its name will break it? Yeah. As always, you will find out the answer next week. Thank you for listening. Please remember to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts and all other platforms that you find us at. It really helps with people finding us and listening to us and getting the word out there about the Knights of the Braille. As always, remember to like, share,
and subscribe.
Hello, Knights of the Braille. This is Jim from the community, sharing my favourite TTRPG, which is like asking someone's favourite band or food. It can change every 5 minutes. Recently, though, I played Warlock. I've wanted to play the game for a while, so I've got some friends together and we tried it out. And it's one of my new favourite games. As many people in the community know, I love Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, and you are sick of hearing about it. The reason I love that game is because there's a lot of crunch. There's a lot of numbers, a lot of things to take into account, but players nowadays do not enjoy rules-heavy games. Most TTRPG players opt towards rules-light stuff where they can hop in and get to grips with it pretty quick. And Warlock offers a rules-light version of Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. There's only 3 things you need on your character sheet. The first is your stamina, aka hit points, and once your stamina reaches 0, you roll on the critical wound table. You roll on the table appropriate to the damage that you've taken, and the effects can range from minor inconveniences to permanently debilitating your character to just straight up death, which I enjoy very much about OSR games and enjoy in Warhammer. So it's nice this carries over. The second thing on your character sheet are your skills. Your skills range from a value of 4 to 12. And to make a skill check, all you do is roll 1d20, add your skill modifier, and if it's equal to or greater than 20, you succeed at the test. So, for example, if you were making a stealth test and your stealth value is 6, you need to roll a 14 or higher to succeed. Pretty straightforward. There are opposed tests in this game where you'll roll a d20 and add your modifier, and so will the game master, and whoever has the highest value wins. This is great in melee combat where you make an opposed test and whoever wins deals damage. So you can initiate an attack but take damage yourself if you lose the opposed test. I know a lot of folks get annoyed when you just roll to hit and you keep missing. So it's good to have a melee combat where someone's always taking damage, things are moving forward. While ranged attacks and magic attacks can miss, the cool thing with magic is that casting a spell costs you stamina. If you want to cast a spell, they average around 4 stamina points to cast, and you become a bit of a glass cannon where you're casting spells but becoming weaker at the same time, which is a nice mechanic. You do have a miscast table, So if you fuck up that casting, you got to roll on the miscast table and something bad happens, and they can be pretty bad. The third thing on the character sheet is your equipment. So a lot of this is stuff that you can interpret or use in the world, but then you have your armor and weapons. Weapons do d6 damage. A longsword could do 2d6 plus 2 damage, while a short sword does 1d6 plus 2 damage. And they do different damage types, which apply to the critical wounds table if you ever have to roll for them. Armor is the same, where you have a dice value associated with it, and when you take damage, you roll that dice and reduce the damage taken by the number rolled on it. Warlock is a pretty straightforward game that most D&D players could walk into, pick up and play very, very quickly. You could create a character in a short period of time. I believe that there's around 36 careers to pick from right off the bat, and they're all pretty interesting. Warlock is good if you want to run a Warhammer based game or just a medieval low fantasy game in general. It's definitely worth checking out. It's a rules light game. You can probably read through the book in an afternoon, and I'm definitely going to be running it in future in place of Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. As I said, a lot of players are intimidated by the heavy rules of that game, and so this is a great option in its place, as it will also allow me to prep games for it much quicker. Thanks for making such a great podcast, guys. Keep it up.
This episode is brought to you by the Knights of the Braille and is made possible through the support of viewers such as you. Please remember to like, share and subscribe to get all of the latest information and episodes. Thank you.